He'll just sneak up on him and then just jump on his tail. Just jump on his tail. No, just all the claws on his tail. Broo jumps up and runs away. Fenris takes his spot by the fire. That's just how it works around here. Fenris is the boss.
Oh yeah,
it's true love.
Oh.
All right.
Alrighty. You want me to get started with all the spoilers and stuff?
Do it. Make everyone know where we are.
I'm on the official. We've got a script today, so look at us. We got our big podcast pants on. So
nice.
So we are, of course, talking to the source of all knowledge about the Dresden Files. So if you are watching this and don't want to get spoiled, probably avert your eyes. We're also going to swear and shit because we're adults here. So I hope that's okay with everybody.
We will be disappointed when we get told no.
So, all right. So jumping in, we've got a list of questions. We expect that he's going to answer about half of them. But we wanted to get some of the bookkeeping stuff out of the way. So the next project that we understand you're probably working on is the Olympian Affair.
Yes.
Have you been making progress on that one?
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Okay.
It's one of those things where it's a very different kind of writing than the Dresden Files. There's a much different voice for the characters, and they kind of have their kind of a non-standard dialect and so on that I'm trying to maintain. And it's a very different process than writing a Dresden Files book. Writing a Dresden Files book is just like, okay, what am I going to do to Harry today? It's really breaks down to that simple. It's like, how do I make Harry's day worse today? When I'm doing stuff in multiple viewpoint books, I've got lots of characters to juggle. I've got lots of decisions to make about how I present things. Writing in third person is a very different process than writing in first person because you've got so many more choices to make. That's one way of saying. Another way of saying that is you've got much more rope with which to hang yourself. But ultimately, I think third person books have there's more potential for the varied ways that you can present your stories. First person book, I mean, pretty much Dresden has to walk in the room and get punched in the nose in order to get anything done. But when you're going third person, you can show things so many more ways. It's both more fun and much more stressful.
You mentioned previously that there might be a novella between the Cinderspires book we already have and the Olympian Affair. Do you have a title for that yet?
No, I don't really have a title yet. I'm working on it. It's Benedict on a mission. Benedict gets sent out to go do cool Warrior-born stuff with a team of Warrior-born Suicide Squad guys, and so off they go to manage things. But it's really, it's just kind of a setup for the opening of a book, for the opening of the book. But I kind of want to get the story going. I had a great idea for how to get more cats into the story, so I had to do a novella.
That's the important thing.
Then, yeah.
All right. Are you still sticking with the pattern for the Cinderspires books of it's like either 3 or 6 or 9?
Yeah. It'll be. I don't know if I'm going to do 3 of them or 6 of them or 9 of them. We'll see. We'll kind of see how the second one does, but. Hopefully I'll be able to do something cool whichever way it turns out. But I think if I can do 6, it'll be pretty great. It'll be about like Codex Alera was. If I can do 9, it should come home to a pretty thundering epic ending. That would be a lot of fun.
Ooh.
So in terms of, we talked before we went live here, that you were thinking 22 books plus the big trilogy. Do you have a rough idea of the titles for the books between Battleground and up to the trilogy?
Oh, not really. I know some of the titles. I know the next one's coming up. I'm not writing Mirror Mirror next. I'm writing a different book next, the Dresden Files. Because I decided that after Battleground, if we just jumped forward into an alternate reality, rather than actually seeing what happened to this one, that I really think it would kind of undermine a lot of cool story stuff. So as it is, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of time and I'm going to write something different than the normal Dresden. Normally Dresden is I write a book that's about his worst weekend of the year, and that's what the Dresden Files is really about. It's Harry Dresden's worst weekend of the year. But the next one I think I'm going to write, it's going to take place over the course of a year, and it's going to kind of show what it's like.
We follow for a whole year?
Yeah.
That's new.
It'll be, I'll essentially what I'm going to do is write once a month, and I'm going to be writing a book, and it's like, this is how you recover when your world gets blown up. And that's what happened in Dresden, whether you like it or not. That's what happened to him in the last book. And you don't just take that and move along. Just keep walking along with the theme music. You kind of got to stop and look at things once in a while. You got to stop and look at yourself once in a while. And so I think that's what we're going to do in this next book. There's going to, we will have the normal Dresden Files nonsense. Here's Brutus, everybody, just in case you wondered if you would get to see Brutus today. We'll be doing like a lot of the normal Dresden Files nonsense, but it'll be a little bit more spread out. And, he's got to survive 12 dates with Lara Wraith and, a bunch of stuff like that. So, it's going to be busy.
Damn, that's a lot of dates with Lara Wraith.
Yeah.
Well, if the other book titles are still open to negotiation, I still want to throw my 2 cents in to have Heel Turn be the wrestling book.
Oh, Heel Turn. Yeah, not bad. I don't know. I'm kind of going for more a pro wrestling vibe. I would probably want to. If I didn't already have the title structure going, I would have called it Turnbuckle. Because that's such a great wrestling word, because you don't hear it anywhere else.
That's true.
But I think the wrestling book will probably be called Body Slam, though. So.
Ooh. Okay. I have to think about that. I've liked Heel Turn for a really long time, but that is kind of fun.
It's just because EG advocates it's like every
Well,
elder
listen,
episode.
it's got the double meaning. It's got, people who are just instantly becoming a
it's
bad guy that you didn't realize were going to be. It's got,
it's not bad. I agree.
There's a method to my madness.
Go on. Go settle down. I got to work. We'll play later.
Okay. So I think you said previously that the time travel book is going to be probably book number 22.
Yeah, it should be the last one, I think. Yeah.
So is that when we learn who fixed Little Chicago?
Gosh, I just planned the time travel book to go through and fix all the inconsistencies that are in the series that I'm sure are going to, I know there's some there and there'll probably be more. Honestly, the whole reason to do a time travel story is just to do that. And then to play around with time travel.
So, pro tip for any author out there. So just to Jim's like, okay, just make sure to say the last book will be time travel. Any mistakes you made, just fix it there.
Right.
Easy peasy.
Give me just 1 second. I'm going to let Brew out to chase the squirrel so he's not in here with us.
Yep, that's fine.
All right.
Squirrel chasing is important.
He's got to visit them Pokestops.
I mean, if there's a squirrel moving in this territory, it's got to be put in this place, right?
Want to bring the squirrel in. Then it's really moving in on the territory.
Great.
Well, clearly the cat is more of a danger anyway.
Yeah, so.
Got to protect the territory. It is what it is.
Oh yeah, definitely. All right, what's next?
So I'm assuming partial answer is going to be this next book that kind of manifested where we kind of follow Harry through the year, but you added so much of the extra story stuff in Battlegrounds. Is that kind of the intention where I can't imagine you're going to give us the answers to everything in this one book, right? We've got stuff with McCoy, We've got Lara, we've got the castle, Justine listens to wind. We've got River Shoulders. Like, where's this all where do we get answers?
Oh, eventually. Well, I'm not going to tell you where you get the answers. I mean, my gosh, then you can skip all the other books and just buy the one with the good stuff.
Oh yeah, we would skip books.
Yeah, you
for
totally-
sure.
Yeah.
Right.
No, because those would be the books with more questions that lead to more.
Yeah. No, we're gonna get some answers in the next book. We'll get some more answers in the one after that, although fewer. Mirror is basically we're gonna jump over into the next universe and see how things are going, and we'll sort of be able to see. That universe will be a few years ahead of where Harry's universe is now, so you'll sort of be able to see the direction things are going, and that should be a lot of fun. Yeah, things got worse faster in the Mirror universe that we're going to, but there's actually an entire spectrum of parallel realities that are existing in the Dresden Files universe, and this is just going to be the nearest parallel reality that you can get to that's significantly different, because there's always a cloud of parallel realities that are just almost exactly the same but not quite.
Yeah, it's a kind of like, I don't know if you've ever seen Stargate or many other sci-fi shows where it's like one choice basically means one new reality.
Right.
Like whenever this is fork, split in the road, then there's a new reality.
Yeah, which is interesting because if you look at that from Uriel's point of view, then suddenly the battle versus good and evil is is all about choices because every choice starts creating more and more different realities and more universes, eternally branching, growing universes. And are they going to be places where good things happen or places where bad things happen? That's kind of an epic struggle. Looked at that way.
That's actually interesting because we talked about that on the podcast several times. We think we all agreed on that there's like, even if there's a lot of realities, there's one Uriel like above all the realities. Is that how you see it?
Sort of. Yeah, I mean, Uriel's an archangel, so he's kind of omnipresent in the universe in many ways. Yeah, he's one of God's deputies.
Yeah.
He kind of has enormous amounts of power. All the archangels do. But yeah, that would be the case. Is that when you get to the really high levels of power, beings like Uriel are the same everywhere they go. So poor Uriel has to deal with millions and millions of Harry Dresdens because they're always causing problems and they're always making choices and they're always creating new branches for the universe. So poor Uriel has to deal with just so many copies of this guy.
So there are actually multiple Uriels, but they're all kind of the same guy in each reality.
No. There's one Uriel, and he's everywhere.
I like that. Okay, yeah, sure.
All of them at the same time. But for example, if you go to an alternate reality, there would be a parallel Mab, and the two Mabs would be parallel, and they probably would be able to know about each other and talk to each other if they really wanted to, but they're just really fucking busy. They got a lot to do, But like Mab next door would be like, oh wait, you work for me next door? All right, well now you work for me. While you're here, you work for me.
Well, why not take advantage?
Well, yeah, I mean it's Mab. What other way could she react? But
are the mothers parallel?
Mab is tremendously powerful, but she's not powerful on the scale like Uriel is, where he's there, in the parallel realities next door and spreading out and so on.
How do the mothers compare to Uriel? Are they in all realities or are they parallel like Mab was?
They're much closer to Uriel. Because I don't want to talk about that yet. I'll put that in the books. But the mothers are much closer to being Uriel. They're essentially nigh unto being gods on the level with with like Zeus or the Native American gods or the Hindu gods or something like that. I mean, they're kind of on that same scale.
So all the big things that stayed immortal and godly and powerful and have to
and kind of had to take a step back from all the mortal affairs that were going on as a result. Most of them are like most of the gods did that. They just sort of, okay, we're going to take a step back. We're not really going to be involved. We're going to become professional wrestlers. That sort of thing.
As for a question, we'll probably get I'm not going to tell you. When do we get Thomas back?
When do we get Thomas back? It's bold of you to assume we do.
You can't say that to me.
Thomas is just stuck there forever. I don't know. I don't know exactly. That's one of those things. It might be a while before you get an answer to that question. I don't know the answer to that question myself.
We'll see him in Mirror.
It's gonna be weird. It's gonna be weird because Thomas has been one of the most consistent characters, as of appearing in each book. So we're gonna miss him.
Well, you could say he's consistent, or you could say that he just hasn't grown very much. I'm not sure, which is the case. I suppose you'd have to date him to find out. Probably. That seems like one of those questions you only find out when you start somebody's life,
What I meant was he's probably the character who's been in most books since he was introduced. I think since he was introduced, he's been shown up in one way or another in every book except there was one he wasn't in. And I don't remember which one. There was one he wasn't in. Other than that, he's been in every book. So it's gonna be a little weird not having him.
He's the muscle, I mean, he's Harry's go-to thug, So I might need somebody beat up. Better call Thomas.
So one of Mab's thugs, Cat Sith. When do we get to see him again?
Oh, I don't know if he survived that.
Oh, because no one survives falling into Lake Michigan.
Well, yeah, no, not everyone.
Especially not a winter bean.
Not everyone has a Queen Mab there to save them, the way Dresden did. Let me think. Yeah, I don't know if we'll see Cat Sith again or not. We'll have to see.
We missed the murder kitty.
Well, we have the other
but,
one.
but you
I
guys
will
were
say
not
he was
around.
a great character.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
and
he was great because he treated Harry the way a cat ought to treat Harry, and that was really the only reason people liked him, because it's like he's a cat, he's giving Dresden no respect. This is great, so
Well, he had a cat for that. It's just now this one can articulate it.
yeah, exactly.
So on the other seasonal side of the spectrum, Eldest Gruff, who seems like he would have been a kind of handy guy to have around in a giant Titanic battle, was he maybe off doing something, with Leah? Is Summer helping in that respect at the gates a little more, or we can see him again?
Anybody who wasn't, I mean, the reason you didn't see Leah around was because she was doing stuff that Mab would normally be doing. Mab had to be in Chicago overseeing that, so Leah was at the gates overseeing the defense of the outer gates. And basically anybody that most of the folks that you didn't see who were involved in the fairy courts, if they weren't involved in that fight, they were at the outer gates fighting there.
So is Eldest Gruff, is it fair to say he's kind of like the counterpart to Leah for Titania, even if their roles are a little different, like in terms of power and responsibility?
No, nowhere close. Eldest Gruff is, well, I mean, I guess he's close. I guess it's close. He's an advisor to Titania, the way that Leah is to Mab. Neither Mab nor Titania take advice very well. I'll tell you that much.
Great job to have.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you're grotesquely powerful and people are afraid of you, the advice comes in a little tepid anyway.
No, it saved Harry's life enough.
Yeah, but yeah. Anyway, sorry.
No, I mean, when you wander like this, that's when we're getting the real information. So please.
I know. That's like shutting my mouth.
We just gotta send him out on a tangent, and then we'll get there.
Right. That's why you got to ask these open-ended questions, man. Let the fairies just talk. So.
Yeah.
So speaking of which, just keeping with the character theme, have you squared if Maggie Dresden is going to have powers yet? And if so, when do we get a taste of that?
I don't know yet, and it depends on when I do any more stories with her. I've got several ideas for what I could do with her. I'm not sure which one I'm going to go with yet. I don't think she's just going to be Daddy's little girl and just be a duplicate of Dresden. I don't think that works at all.
That would be too easy for him too. So
it would be simple, but I think I would have more fun doing something else. So we'll see which way I go. None of the plans that I have her being Wizard Baggy, but we'll see what happens.
So, what about our boy Kincaid? Is he gonna come back? I know he's kind of, looking for a job right now, I guess.
Well, I mean, if you're good at killing people, you can pretty much always get work, unfortunately, in this world. But that said, I mean, that he's out doing low profile stuff, which is to say working for mortals. He hasn't been doing much in the supernatural world lately. He's all depressed.
Oh.
Buddy.
Well, I mean, he shot her only friend. She booted him.
Well,
He didn't shoot himself.
her best friend shot her other best friend, right? So, yeah.
Well, Kincaid wasn't a friend. He was hired.
Mm-hmm.
Or Kincaid. So we in the battle with Dracul and the vampire nobles and everything like that, we see several other high profile wardens. At least wardens we're used to seeing around that aren't usually pains in Harry's backside get vanished for one way or another. When are we going to see what happens to like Wild Bill and Yoshimo, for example? They're presumably turned or going to be. So
Yeah, we'll see a little bit of that. We'll see a little bit of that in the next book, I think.
Oh, that's great. As to a follow up on that, where did Chandler go?
Right? Yeah. I don't know yet. I wish I could tell you. I don't know yet.
Oh, I bet you wish you could tell us.
Well, I don't wish I could tell you, but I do wish I did.
Yeah.
You wish you knew.
Yeah,
I wish you
sure.
could withhold willingly.
I wish I could willingly withhold from you. As it is, it's involuntary. It's not as much fun.
Yeah, exactly.
It just looked really cool, so we went with that. So,
Oh, yeah.
So other characters that were notably missing from Peace Talks and Battlegrounds were the likes of Cal and Komori and other obvious people working for the Circle or the Black Council that we're aware of. What were they busy doing?
Not being around Ethniu, that's for sure.
They didn't want to get stepped on.
Yeah, exactly. What point is there in showing up to that? Black Council is not a go out in their masses and do battle sort of organization.
Probably wouldn't last very long if they were.
Was there
Yeah,
any?
exactly. I mean, the White Council smashes people like that.
And White Council.
Was there anyone significant that was at the Battle of the Bean that you didn't get to name drop?
Probably. I mean, essentially, if you lived in Chicago, you were involved in it somewhere. I was tempted for a while to do a bunch of short stories about just like the little things that were happening along the way. What happened at Max during the battle, for example. What happened elsewhere. What was Morty doing during that fight? That sort of thing.
Yes.
There's plenty of people who were involved, and just Dresden didn't see him, or he never ran across them, or they stayed at home. But essentially the city just went crazy for a night, and any of the supernatural folks who were doing stuff were probably doing something. Were probably scrambling, and a bunch of and I'm going to be honest with you. Battleground was a really great place for me to just kill a bunch of people, so I didn't have to remember them anymore. So
Good reason.
Yeah. Like, I mean, every once in a while, you got to kind of sweep through with some kind of apocalypse and clean out the cast a little, or on these long books, or else you're just going to lose track of everyone.
Well, speaking of sweeping through people, so Ethniu has this super weapon, the Eye of Baelor. Now that Harry has it, is that the kind of weapon that someone, even of the level of Mother Winter, would appreciate, or would she just kind of find that thing quaint and be like, "Oh, that's cute"? But
oh no, that was a weapon of Baelor. He was a Titan. He was one of the big bads. He was the big bad of Celtic mythology. But Baelor's weapon was something that was so formidable that that the gods had to be afraid of it. I mean, it was something that there were multiple stories about it. I mean, yeah, they're all going to be impressed. At the end of the day, when somebody puts a 44 Magnum in your face, he's got a 44 Magnum in your face, and that's what Dresden has. He's got the Eye of Baelor is a 44 Magnum to anybody. It's dangerous.
Is it even like dangerous to Uriel or his boss?
If Uriel just stood there in it, yeah. I mean, he wouldn't. But yeah, it could kill him. I mean, it's one of those things. That Uriel he's so powerful that he's not even on the scale with everybody else. I mean, yeah, maybe the Eye of Baelor could disintegrate Uriel if Uriel couldn't just immediately teleport anywhere or make the energy go somewhere else, or basically do anything at all to defend himself. But if he just stood there like a dummy, sure, somebody could kill him with the Eye of Baelor. But he's not going to. He's freaking Archangel.
Yeah.
well, as a quick follow-up, then, is that because we know the fairy courts and the queens and stuff, they had to come into being for a reason. Was that part of Mab's Mantle's creation was to be able to stand up to kinds of things like that as like a failsafe?
I don't want to tell you too much about it just yet. But yeah, I mean, essentially, Mab has a role and a purpose. So for her to be where she is, yeah, it was kind of her duty to be able to stand up to threats like that. She wasn't really anticipated to have to stand up to a Titan because everybody was pretty sure they were all taken care of. But Ethniu has been laying low biding her time. But at the same time, they did what was appropriate. They got everybody together to take on the threat, or at least everybody they could.
So I know, speaking of no problem now, you're probably just going to hit me with I'm sure you're not going to tell me now, but somewhere down the line, will we know who Mab was?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, that would be something that kind of comes in big. It comes in a little bit more toward the end. But she's one of these people who we don't really know what's going to happen to humans when we start living a really long time. We don't really know what's going to happen to us. And so, to create Mab, I just sort of extrapolated what happens to people as they, kind of the psychology of people as they get older, while subtracting everything that goes along with degenerating, because she doesn't degenerate. And she just, and the way I look at it is she's just become more and more and more just sort of rational and grounded in this function of what she's doing, to where every part of her psychology, every part of who she is as a person has become subsumed by needing to pursue this necessary function, which is defending the mortal world. So as long as she's doing that, that is all she can think about. That's all she does. It's something that she's been doing for so long that it's just routine at this point. For her, it's like, okay, all right, yeah, get up, get up, do exercises, have breakfast, kill some enemies, go over here and, torment some enemies, threaten some enemies. All right, good. Yeah, work day done. That sort of, and it never really stops to occur to her. She never really stops to think, should I really be doing this? Because it never really, that's never a part of her calculation. Her calculation is always what I'm doing is necessary for the survival of the world. So, I could worry about whether this is a good or evil, right or wrong, but you know what? I think I'll just do my job, and move along to the next step, But yeah, I don't know what's going to happen to humans when we start living a really long time, but it really I don't know if it's going to be very good for us. We'll have to see.
So speaking of Mab and her defending the mortal world and the Isle of Baelor, do Mab have any other famous weapons stashed away? Magically speaking?
Or in famous monuments?
Yeah, weapons, monuments, that sort of thing. Well, she's got sort of. Mab is kind of, she's sort of an absolute value in many ways. Mab doesn't go and collect stuff. Mab makes herself more awesome. That's really kind of more of her philosophy. It's like, go out and get things. It's like, yeah, you can go out and pick up, the Spear of Destiny, and sure, that would be a handy thing. But what would be even better is if I made myself really cool, that much cooler, as much cooler as if I had a Spear of Destiny, and that would be more Mab's. That would be more Mab's tactic.
I misread the question, actually.
She's not very material. She's not attached to things.
I misread the question. It was actually like with the Battle of the Bean, the weapon stash goes there. Does she have similar stashes anywhere else?
Yeah. Mab is big on being prepared, and that's kind of one of her things and sort of what she does. When you're a professional guardian, it's kind of your job to be prepared. So yeah, she has stuff like that all over the place.
Statue of Liberty filled with guns?
I don't know if Statue of Liberty is. How are you going to get everybody out there to get the guns? You'd have to use some other statue that's like in a park in Manhattan somewhere.
That's true. I'm not. I don't
Bull on Wall
I didn't
Street
think
or
about that
something.
one.
Yeah, Bull on Wall Street. That'd be a good place.
All the heads on Easter Island.
So that's why the guy who cut off the balls of the bull, he just like, we never heard from him again. Mab was like, you're not showing my stash to people, okay?
Right.
There's a double entendre.
Everybody knows that the Statue of Liberty is a giant mech waiting to happen. Come on now. So
yeah.
So switching gears off of Mab for just a little bit at least. So with the White Council and everything like that, we've gotten some words of Jim, and we've seen it play out in the books that each of the wizards have more of a specialty, right? So Ramirez seems to be entropy magic and water, listens to wind as water for healing. Yoshimo's an air mage. What does Christos do?
Oh, Christos is an earth mage.
Okay.
So you got to see him in Battleground. That's kind of what he does. He does earth moving stuff. Christos can moderate earthquakes. He's like if you've got a stone or ground based problem, Christos is the guy on the White Council that you go talk to.
Is he better than McCoy?
Yeah, he's better especially than McCoy is. McCoy is the one who is good at everything, and if you go and fight him in a duel, it doesn't matter if you are awesome at earth, because McCoy is going to be better at air than you are. He's going to be better with air than you are. He's going to counter you. It doesn't matter if you're awesome with water. He's going to be good with fire. And he's going to counter you. McCoy is the guy who has been in so many fights and has gone up against so many other wizards that he just ain't gonna. He's just not gonna have a bad day, is what it really amounts to. And when you're fighting a professional, the guy who never has a bad day is really dangerous.
I was actually going to ask if it was like where he was compared to Morgan, because I feel like Morgan was definitely a very specialized earth magic and was very good at it. But I guess even Christos is like pretty far past him.
Morgan is a guy that you want to have earth magic on when there's a fight happening, because Morgan's the guy who can just go boom like that and just bury somebody. I mean, Christos can manage stuff like that too, but Morgan was a tactical combat specialist. That's what he did. Christos is not as good at tactical combat as like Morgan was. He might not win in a fight against somebody like Morgan, even though he's more powerful. But Christos has a much longer reach and can do more stuff from back at home, and can do more stuff, doing his research, doing contact with earth elementals and other creatures of earth and stuff like that. I mean, he's got a great big talent stack that he can use, and it's all involved, it's mostly involved with earth stuff. But he's not a fighter. He's a politician. He can go out and do big things and help in big ways, but he's not a go screw up a bunch of people in a fight sort of thing. He's got to coordinate with other guys to get stuff done. So when you see him, doing stuff in a fight and he's actually doing something impressive in Battleground, it's because he's working together with Ebenezer.
So in the same vein of enforcers and fighters like that, we've seen on the fairy side, Malks and Fetches and the Gruffs. Are there any other races like that have like a patriarch, like an eldest mantle and someone at the top?
Probably, yeah. I mean, there's probably an eldest goblin. There's definitely an eldest goblin. That's the Earl King. It's kind of what it amounts to. There's going to be, basically of anything, there's going to be an eldest mantle somewhere, because that's really important to the Fae. They respect things that have been around a while, and things that go by quickly, like most mortals. They're like, eh.
So, as a quick follow up, is it? Oh, yeah, sorry.
Dog, my goodness.
He wants to be in this.
Yeah, I mean, knows how to
So
podcast.
so the Wizard of Oz joke, it's brew behind the curtain.
Okay, there we go.
How long did that take you?
There are squirrels trying to steal bird food from the bird feeder, and
How dare they?
And Sheriff Brew gets very upset about this violation of the law, because only the birds are supposed to have that.
I mean, he's a just and honorable sheriff.
Yes. So he feels the need to run out onto the deck and chase the squirrels away whenever we see a squirrel out there. So
That's fair.
So,
as a mammal, he needs to uphold the mammal law. Birds
if he doesn't, who will?
Exactly.
So was Catsith, would he have been considered the eldest Malk, or was that Grimalkin?
Yes. And Grimalkin's is doing it now.
Okay.
So if someone like, for example, the eldest Fetch gets defeated, someone next in line kind of gets that eldest mantle, if you can call it that.
Yeah, the mantle goes to the next eldest. Yeah.
So same as the Queens was basically, it's the same general.
Yeah.
The next guy up.
Yep. Next one in line. Everybody.
Well, now we know the Night Mantles don't work quite that way. They're a little more hands-on. So, who was the last?
There's more discretion there.
And as far as discretion goes, who was the last knight that Mother Winter picked? What would be her kind of standard?
Oh, that Mother Winter picked. Or do you mean Mother Winter, not Mab, right?
Yeah.
Mother Winter.
Yeah, Mother Winter would have picked somebody like, I mean, if she was going for historical figures, she'd go for people like Vlad Sepish, except Vlad Sepish was actually somebody else. He was actually doing other stuff. But yeah, I mean, that's the kind of, she picks people who are completely relentless about whatever it is they're trying to get done, and that's the only thing Mother Winter cares about. So Joe Stalin, she'd pick him. Yeah.
Genghis Khan.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Excellent. Yeah, good choice. Yeah, real deceiver there. He really works hard. That's a bright young boy.
He's a go-getter.
He is.
He's got some potential.
That's who we need right there.
So on the historical figures end, are there any particularly noteworthy or famous magical wizard types out there? Someone like an Aleister Crowley, was he actually something, or was he just a fraud?
Crowley was in the Dresden Files universe was kind of a con man. who was this wizard who he specialized in illusion magic and putting on great shows and stuff like that. He was kind of running his own cult, and everybody was like, "What are you doing?" All the White Council's like, "You are just ruining everything. What is going on here? Do you know how hard we just got through the burning times, and here you are doing this?" But folks like that, like Dr. John Dee, for example, he was actually on the White Council. He was an advisor to Queen Elizabeth, who was well known for being a wizard, historically speaking. And there were several folks like that who actually were on the council, but mostly the White Councils kind of stayed. They tried to stay low key for the most part. Instead, you'll find most of the historical figures are connected to like fraternal organizations that are connected to the supernatural world, like the Thule Society or the Venatori Umbrorum. So mostly the historical figures get connected to stuff like that. If you're a king, it's different. If you're like a king or a queen, it's different because there's actual magical stuff associated with being a king or a queen. For example, Mab does not disrespect Elizabeth in England, period. She just does not. Because the Queen of England is the Queen of England, and she can do things. And we'll get to see more of that as we go.
But she doesn't care if she's like in Australia or Canada or any of those.
Well, I mean, if it's in part of her realm, yeah, that's a big deal. You don't screw with her in her realm. But if she comes to America, she doesn't necessarily have all access to all that stuff. She's not walking on the ground on the ground that her family's been ruling for hundreds of years.
So what is Mav's perspective on democracy?
It's a fad.
Mav looks at democracy because democracy. And that's really about as much as she thinks of it. It's like, the humans are okay. They're doing this.
They're trying new things again.
He was more impressed with the humans when they killed each other with swords.
Yeah. It's a fun little lie they like to tell themselves.
They've got more destruction now, but she really feels like they've gone soft. Probably it's Disney. Disney is the problem as far as Mab is concerned. Disney's making things too soft. The fairy tales were there to get you ready for the real world.
She should have bought it when she had the chance.
Yeah.
Yes. So when do we get to see Leah again?
Probably next book. Is what I would anticipate. I mean, she's going to have to check in on Dresden. He's gotten wrecked, and she's still his godmother and all. And actually, she might be the one who shows up and slaps him in the face to, get up, get moving, that sort of thing.
How soon will we learn the details of her bargain with Margaret? You said before that it would probably cause them to throw down, but when do they actually fight?
When did they fight?
When do Leah and Harry fight over the bargain that Leah had with Margaret?
Oh, I don't know if they will. At this point, I don't know if they will. Dresden keeps growing up on me. And lots of things that I wanted to do, and I didn't necessarily get to do them while I was writing on, as I was going along. I'll have to see.
You're saying Harry's going to be too mature to pick that fight? Damn. Never thought I'd see the day. Harry not taking a fight.
I so want to know what that bargain fully was. What did Margaret pay?
Oh, you know what? We will get to do the details of that before the end. That's necessary. You're right. That's a good question. Thank you. I'll have to show that now.
Yay! I contributed.
I helped.
So her slight tangent based on her role, which is to be, kind of like at the gates when Mab isn't and all this stuff. As far as the guardianship of the gates over time, has it kind of been a cycle where one pantheon falls, the next one picks it up because the other one lost worship and this one got stronger? Or have there always been kind of like a little bit of a coalition and just whichever was top dog at the time was the one in charge?
It's almost always been a bit of a coalition. The Fae have always kind of been the foot soldiers of what was going on, but it's been more recently that they've been given autonomy, which is to say Mab and Titania. I mean, when I say recently, I mean like within the past few thousand years. As far as the immortal things are concerned, recent events are, human history.
And were they kind of sort of to circumvent that whole problem of a continual transition? Because it seems like if you're losing power based on faith, you'd want something a little more permanent, like a mantle that goes and stays in power the whole time.
It was less about that, less about the whole thing running on faith, and more about the fact that occasionally things got bad and the Fae needed backup. And that would be when it's like, okay, we've got to cover this one. Who's got this one? How about Asgard? Yeah, Asgard gets this one. Go, guys. Like that. And that was how it went for a long time. But prehistory, that was pretty much how it went. But as things have gone on, the past couple of thousand years, it's been mostly the Fae in charge. Because they essentially they got a sponsor and then they were able to get some actual leadership put into place. So
They got a sponsor?
yeah. I've actually told everybody about it already. It's in the books, but you'll have to come up with it yourselves.
Reread.
I know, right?
More
Like,
homework.
thanks. That's the next year of our life.
I'll give you a hint. Reread Skin Game.
Okay, so that makes sense.
I'm thinking now. Yeah. Okay.
It was a
Could you
statue.
tell us a little bit about the librarians?
No, I will tell you nothing about the librarians. You can learn about them later.
In 12 months?
Will they start getting there by then? Yeah, they'll be there by the end of the next book.
I'm sure they're harmless.
They're the
don't
Men
know-
in Black. You can't just tell us about them. So
Well, no.
They can't even just tell us about them.
great.
It's
They're top secret, so
is Tilly in the librarians? I think I've read that somewhere, but that might just be a rumor.
No, he's FBI. No, he's straight FBI.
So if you can't tell, can you confirm if? Oh man, I'm not just gonna get it. And I'm not gonna tell you. Is Elaine? Is Elaine a Starborn?
I'm not going to confirm or deny.
Yeah, I figured.
We had to try.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we get obviously some more information in Battlegrounds. So the question then became, we've had for a while that she was born in the right time frame, I think, is as close as we got. And so we're like, is there a Starborn or not? And obviously in Battlegrounds, there are multiple now, and they're concurrently operating. So it opens up some more of those questions. But
Yeah, there were 40 or 50,000 at first.
What?
Starborn?
Starborn.
Since the beginning of time or right now?
No, there were 40 or 50,000 Starborn in this cycle at first.
Oh, and then
And
they
they
get
get winnowed
whittled
down.
down. What's
Yeah, there ain't
that's
so many
a-
of them left. It's been close to 40 years. There ain't so many of them left.
So is being Starborn a pre? Like, do you have to have been mortal to be a Starborn?
You just had to have been in the right place.
Okay,
You
because I was
just had to have
thinking
been
if
unlucky. I mean, you just have to have been unlucky.
okay, unlucky. I was just thinking if Dracul, that's how you say it, right? If he was mortal once, it's like a side thought I just had.
Well, I mean, you'll have to see as we go along. We'll get more stuff about the grand climactic, and that'll be fun.
Yeah, I mean, even if he had been mortal, I had a feeling it would be. You'll have to see.
Well, because you mentioned before once that he was something unhuman and got put mortal. So I guess we're not going to get to find out what he was once yet.
Not yet. Well, not today.
Well, so at least on his more historical time frame, I was wondering, there seems to be a slight discrepancy, at least on how the Black Court is, because is that just because Dracul and Dracula, are they? I assume they're older than their historical personas,
Yes.
and so
Dracul especially. Dracul has been somebody that popped up in various places in history. I mean, history's full of little monsters that aren't really particularly remembered, and he's been several of them.
so kind of like Odin with his Beowulf and all.
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Well, yeah, once you're immortal, and you're interacting with mortals, and they're just a pain unless you deal with the Memento style, by banishing from their memory. it just makes sense. It just makes life simpler for you when you're an immortal. Oh my
So-
gosh, the humans and their issues.
Is his son old enough? Like, how old essentially is the Black Court? That are they the oldest court, or are they just?
Okay, the Black Court itself is not too much older than Dracula, because he was the one who really kind of went crazy making more vampires. His father didn't. He just wanted a small hand-picked crew of people who were awesome, and that was his way of making super soldiers, was Black Court vampires. But Dracul wanted more of that and sort of let it loose into the world, and or Dracula did, and his father was very displeased.
So it was Dracul who made the Black Court vampires, because
Yeah.
we were a little wasn't sure if it was like Dracula and then Dracul just kind of, that's a neat thing you made there, son. I'm taking
No. Well, Dracul made them. Dracula made them popular, I suppose is the way to think of it. But yeah, you've actually seen how Dracul operates now. I mean, that's just how he's gone through his whole career, is with this tight group of enforcers, and then himself being awesome.
That's when we saw that scene in the graveyard, and I saw that Mavra was the drummer. I was like, who are these other guys? If she's drumming,
the old guard, the ones who are still alive, the ones who lived.
Yeah.
All right.
So all the good, strong ones.
Kind of random question. In Peace Talks and Battleground, Harry still talks like he's poor. What happened to his diamonds?
Oh, he still has them. He's just not spending them. $2 million in diamonds is not nearly as much diamonds as you think it is.
Okay.
Especially when you got to go trade. You essentially got to go pawn them. So you can't drop too many of them in one place at one time. So
that's when the police comes knocking.
Yeah. His diamond wealth is sort of trickle wealth that he's got to use a little bit carefully.
So we've now seen essentially all the accorded nations basically in one big fight. And you've actually put in the books that the Accords are something fairly recent. And it seems like they stem from the kind of throwaway mention of the Unseelie Incursion in 1994 that comes up in Stormfront and is never talked about again.
That's right.
Are there any particular details or reasons for that event that we could get?
I will tell you that it originated in a clash between the Summer and the Winter Night,
Okay.
and it just got out of hand, and then things just got completely crazy. And I kind of know the story of it in my head. I keep thinking about maybe I should write it up eventually.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. Was it
Yeah,
the Summer Knight from Summer Knight, the guy who dies in that book?
Yeah, Ronald Rule versus Lloyd Slate. Yeah, it started
It
with
was
those two.
them.
Yeah.
Tell you what, if you write it, I'll give you $1. That's how this works, right? So
Awesome.
possibly
If you
a couple
write
of
it-
dollars.
If you write it, I will buy it.
Okay,
That's
That's
generally
that's
how
more
we
than
do this.
$1.
I'm willing to do that contract.
In Cold Days, Harry asked for help from Vadarung in exchange for a favor. When is Vadarung going to call in his favor?
Ooh, when is he going to call in his favor? The worst possible time. That's when. Okay, yeah, that's the right answer. When will be the worst possible time? Oh God. Okay.
You sent
That's
him
not
down a
honest.
path you shouldn't have sent him down.
No, this is
I'd
a path
actually
that need-
forgotten about that favor. Jeez.
He went down the path where Chandler went. We don't know yet.
Okay, director, you helped earlier. Now stop helping. No, now you're helping too much.
At some point, Harry can blame me for some of his problems. I'm okay with this.
Right.
Yeah. Well, so I feel like I've read that you've already confirmed this, but just to be sure, Bob stays with Harry now?
Well, Bob is with Harry now.
Will he
I mean,
stay
I-
with Harry?
I'm not going to tell you the future of the book. I mean, he's with Harry now.
I feel like, okay, maybe not. I was like to say, maybe Bob could be a good mentor to Bunny, but then I
No.
thought about it for 2 more seconds, and I was like, no, that's not a good idea.
Probably not. No.
Well, now he's got a whole castle he can keep them apart in.
So you teased us with this in your last Reddit AMA. You said that you've already introduced Bob's parents. So who exactly are Bob's parents?
I'm not telling you that. You guys can figure it out.
So there are enough hints that we could figure it out already.
I have no idea if you
There's
can figure
enough
it out or
names
not.
dropped.
I've stopped trying to figure out what readers can figure out, because there's some things that I drop that I think are just the most obvious thing ever, and then people go, "Oh my god, I didn't see it coming." And then there's other things where
but
I
not
drop
even Priscilla
one little
knew.
freaking word in one book, and somebody cross-references it, and then goes to Reddit and gets everybody on it, and then they crowdsource whatever it is and come up with an answer for something that I was not going to write for another 2 or 3 books. And you've already determined it, and now you've ruined it for everyone. I hope you're happy with yourselves.
Exceedingly.
Yeah.
That's who you guys are. These guys on the panel here, these guys here, that's what they are. They're the fans who ruin things for other fans by thinking about it too hard.
Listen,
That's
the
why
only
we've got a
fair
disclaimer.
thing,
Yeah.
the only fair thing is at the end of the series, you just write the list of all the things that were ruined and you set it out.
Okay, all right, I'll do that.
That would actually be a cool, like a Dresden compendium with here's all the lore
This
things.
could
that I
have happened, but
This
some
could have
fan
happened,
worked it
yeah.
out, so I had to stop.
Here's the mirror version of the series.
Nice. When did Bob learn how to kill an immortal?
Well, it's one of those things that he's known for a long time. I mean, Bob was born knowing a lot of things based upon his parentage.
Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking of the parentage, I think you
Gibbs,
mentioned
You're
once
mean.
before that
Mean sometimes.
based on the way Athena was born, she's basically a spirit of intellect, but she also seemed to have had a body. Is that a godly thing, or is there a mechanic by which a spirit could get a physical form more permanently?
Well, let's just say that if Molly hadn't been around, that Harry would be a much different person now. And leave it at that. And that when the spirit gets born of somebody like Zeus can do something about it more than Harry can. You know, Zeus is able to go, oh yeah, you know what? Okay, here's a body for you. There you go.
That takes care of that headache.
Yeah.
What, if any, equipment of Harry survived the fire, and will he ever get it back?
Very little. In fact, nothing really was useful. Was magically useful after the fire at his place. And there was very little left. Alcohol-based fires burn really hot, and it's it's kind of an issue. As far as getting it back, he has to build back. And that'll be part of what he's doing. I mean, that's kind of why we're taking 12 months here. I mean, Dresden hasn't had time to make good equipment. I mean, he's been making schlocky equipment for the past 3 books.
Yeah, I've actually we were
by.
talking about it before.
Yeah. I mean, he's just been throwing stuff together because he hasn't really had a base of operation or really much in the way of resources. That's going to change now.
We'll say combined with Matt's training, it has forced him to become a lot better without equipment. So I'm looking forward to see how he will be with equipment again.
Well, equipment
more
is.
control.
I mean, generally speaking, the White Council thinks of equipment as a crutch. You know, they're willing to allow that you can take a staff with you because it's so useful. You can do it for so many things. So a staff is considered, that's fine. But everybody else using equipment, they must be a kid because that's kid stuff. Kids make toys because they can't really control their own power. They haven't learned how yet. Dresden makes toys to help him control his power because he hasn't learned how. But he's going to be looked at as kind of less than a full adult wizard until he starts doing things, without using various gewgaws.
Like simply wielding a shield into existence.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you don't
So
have a
cool.
shield bracelet. You just make a shield happen. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do as a wizard.
That castle that Marcone flew in to take place, that clearly had its own history. It already has its own spells. Where was it from and what was its name?
It's from Scotland.
And what was its name?
I'm not telling you the name of the historical castle.
Damn.
I can't do that because then people show up places. And again, I can't do that because it's guys like you that have ruined it.
Does it have mythological significance? Could it have been something like people would have thought, oh, maybe this was Camelot once?
No, it was just a little castle.
Mm.
But it happened to be there happened to be somebody there who wanted to make it nice and impregnable. So
Someone whose name begins with M?
I'm not going to tell you who.
Come on. That's
Everyone's
like half-
name begins with them.
I was going to say that's half the characters of the Dresden Files. You can't
That's why it'd
just
be a gimme.
Oh, you're right. My gosh, I should have just said yeah. M.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
Well,
was
I
that
mean,
name?
because we know from Peace Talks that it was the Tuatha, right? That they at least enchanted it. So
They were the craftsmen who built it. But anyway.
well, that was fun. But switching gears again, or do you got a follow up, director? You look
No,
like
I'm good,
you're
I'm good.
okay. So we wanted to ask about dragons because it was another one of the things that it's like if you go back in enough history that the story feels like it's changed, or maybe we're just getting two pieces of the story, right? So when Ebenezer says that he was responsible for Tunguska and Dresden says that the last dragon died there, was that the same event?
Oh, it was the
Or-
last time. It was the last time a dragon was. Well, it wasn't. I don't think it was the last time a dragon was killed, but it was one of the times a dragon was killed. Dragons getting killed is a big deal. There are events like Tunguska.
Hmm. And Eb was involved in that.
Yes.
All right.
So was the resulting explosion, was it his power that's needed to take out the dragon, or was that the result of the dragon essentially blowing up?
Well, I'm not going to tell you that. I mean, we got to have Harry worry about that when he's fighting his own dragon, don't we?
Of course.
What does Vadarung have on Pharaohvax that kept Pharaoh from riding out Dresden during peace talks?
The fact that Vadarung could have started a fight that killed Pharaohvax. Yeah, I mean, they could have gone. That was all they were doing, was just sitting there waiting for one of them to pull the trigger. I mean, they were basically just two gunfighters at the whole meeting, just sitting there like this the whole time, and that was their dynamic. Pharaohvax does not like Vadarung at all.
Now, is it more personal? Does he have any connection to being the world serpent, or is that just because they're on the same power level?
Well, you'll have to see.
He's not gonna answer that one yet.
Nothing ventured.
Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Yeah. Are Hugin and Munin primarily bodyguards, or do they function as spies as well?
Oh, Hugi and Munin?
Yeah.
Mostly bodyguards. They can go out and do stuff, but they're not somebody that Odin sends out on a regular basis to do stuff. That's Odin. That's along the Odin sends them out on missions along the line of, all right, Loki got Thor in trouble again. Go arrange things so that Thor can get out. Don't let him know you're there. That's the kind of mission that Hugi and Munin get. They do a lot of cleanup behind the scenes, and they kind of resent the other gods. They don't have to do all the work.
They resent people like Harry.
Well, they just sort of dislike humans.
Okay.
Humans are complicated. They're always doing things. They're always changing. Humans are the worst.
Nobody likes humans.
All right.
Really? I mean, honestly.
Not even humans.
So the Einherjar are revenants. They're people returned.
Right.
How is that magic related to necromancy and the fact that the Einherjar don't need a drum, but they are dead and returned?
It's not necromancy. It's something else. And it's one of those things that. Yeah, I'll just tell you. I don't know if this is going to come out anywhere. It's Soulfire.
Holy fuck!
Naturally.
Right. Where could that possibly come up? I mean, we don't know
Yeah.
anybody who has that power. So
So, but yeah, that's kind of what Odin's got over the gods, and why the gods don't mess with him. Odin's got fucking Soulfire.
And Mr.
He's-
Sunshine has
he's
lunch with
stayed-
them once a
He can
year.
be real. He can be real.
Okay.
That's handy. Now, is that something he got as a result of essentially staying mortal and active in all this? The kind of thing he couldn't have ever gotten if he had stayed what he once was?
That seems like a very clever theory.
I'm known for those. All right, so now we got to go to the real stuff that you're never going to answer.
Okay.
As far as
We're coming up on time though too. So.
Yeah.
that's true. Well, we can skip if we want to get like one
Oh,
or two.
let's get a couple more in. We'll do a couple more.
All right. So then, as much as we can get about Nemesis, now that we've seen it's taken someone particularly close to Dresden and his brother, Is there really just one way that it spreads from person to person or being to being? Are there particular requirements that have to be met?
Not terribly. The only limit it has is how many places it can be at once. It can only be in so many places at once.
But it's more than a couple, because we've seen at least a few
More than a
people
couple.
at the same time.
More than a couple, but there's a limit.
But less than 40,000 Starborn.
Definitely also
Less than
was
40,000 Starborn, correct.
All right.
also my
Well,
theory.
plus-
It
plus
seems like
remember-
there's a limit.
The whole point of the Starborn is that they don't have to put up with the nonsense from the outsiders. Stuff like Nemesis taking them over.
Reality's white blood cells.
Nice. If we want to continue with the train of thought then for a little bit, there have been some implications that Thornton Amshiel, or at least his coin bearer at one point, was infected. If a coin bearer is infected, is it just the host, or does the angel get some effect
Really
as well?
fascinating question.
It was worth a shot. All right.
Because given developments, that could go south fast.
Right.
Exactly. Well, in Cold Days, Justine was on the island. Did Demon Reach know she was infected? That she was a walker?
No, Justine was there. Let me think. Yeah, she actually got out to the island. That's right, she did. Yeah. That was in Cold Days. Where was it in Cold Days? I'm trying to remember now.
She made it to the end, I think.
Yeah,
Wasn't
she was
she
with
one
Mac.
of the ones inside the circle?
Yeah, because the
That's
red
right.
cap
Yeah, that's
had
right.
captured them.
It's curled up inside it. Yeah. The thing about Nemesis is you can't tell when Nemesis is there unless you figure it out. It's from the outside. There's no magic that helps you with that. There's no way to tell
So
why it's scary, but you can figure it out. And also Nemesis is an outsider, and while it probably knows humans and the mortal world better than any other outsider, it's still this alien entity that sort of only learns things by looking at it and sort of puzzling it together. It doesn't really understand humans. It understands them about as well as if you had a really big, like a really, really huge block of code, and then you had somebody start reading it to tell what it did. You could have somebody that read the code and figured it all out, but I mean, that's a big thing to figure out, which is sort of humanity, sort of the same way. So, that when Nemesis is looking at him, it can't duplicate human stuff all the time. It can't duplicate human reactions all the time. It just can't. It's imperfect. It's this alien thing. It can be anywhere, but it can't be right all the time. But you don't get any favors fighting it either. You have to fight it with like logic and intuition.
So if there's no magical way to detect it, does that count for Grigori and fallen angels as well then? Because Mac was dangerously close to her in that scene that we're thinking about. So she was tending to his wounds, I think, was the particulars of the scene. So
Oh yeah, that's right. She was.
yeah.
Oh goodness! Wow.
Oops, we were helping again.
Wow, come on.
Yeah.
and Uriel
That, jeez. Okay.
Uriel was looking at her too when showing Harry the ghost of right now with Thomas and Justine.
Right.
Uriel doesn't know, or did he?
Stuff from the outside, man.
Okay. So the British guy that's in Demon Reach, the one that told Harry to piss off in the beginning of Skin Game, when did he get put into Demon Reach? What was the warden that interred him there?
The warden that interred him there was the first one.
I told you.
That's interesting crosstalk, because you said that it couldn't possibly be Merlin because we wouldn't understand him. So
Because his British would be
But
too
he's-
out there
but he's as old as Merlin, presumably.
and is perfectly intelligible British.
Well, Merlin gets away with time travel.
This is
so he
Jim
could have done it-
bamboozling us again.
He could have done
Yeah.
it 20 minutes ago for all we know.
Once we know, we'll think back on this and be like, that son of a.
The original Merlin did it because Dresden's the original Merlin, right? I'm just kidding. Sorry, now I'm just
Well, I mean, Merlin was supposed to age backwards, wasn't he?
right. Yeah. All right. Do we want to call time? We want to be conscientious. So
I got to wrap things up for today.
Okay.
yeah, for sure.
All right.
All right. We have a list for next time.
I know we appreciate it. We got through quite a bit, but I mean, we could go forever if you let us. So
Oh, yeah. Let's have boundaries. Let's be professional.
right.
All right.
We want him to come back, so we gotta.
All right. That's the
All right,
end
I'll see
of
you guys
this.
again in the future. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yep, definitely. Thank
All right.
you so much for your time.
All right.
Thanks a bunch.